Dear students, let us start the discussion on 05th September 2016 newspaper. The first article is related to the recent developments between US and India relationships. So, India-US has signed Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. So, according to this, US and India can share, if necessary, basis on mutual agreement basis. Now, again, be clear. The US is not going to establish its permanent basis on Indian soil, but they can mutually use each other's basis on a case-by-case basis in the case of the evacuation or in the case of the emergency overhaul, etc. So in this, both Mr. Carter and India's Defense Minister Parrikar, they tried to explain that or downplay the importance of this agreement. Now, India, if you see the defense history, in 2005, when Pranab Mukherjee was the defense minister, India-USA has signed a defense pact or defense cooperation agreement. It is revised recently for another 5 years. Since then onwards, we have, or US is demanding India or asking India to sign the framework agreements to deepen the defense relationship. So what are these? One is Logistics Cooperation Agreement, SISMOVA and BECA. These are the three foundational agreements in the US was recommending for India. But India has its own sensitivities in signing these. Now, when Clinton was the Secretary of the State, next steps in the strategic partnership was signed. Now, US has declared India as a major defense partner. So it means whatever the NATO allies get, the similar defense technologies will be exported to India without any restrictions. So in this scenario, what are the reasons why this relationship is developing? What can be the consequences of this? The first one is India-USA, they want to engage with each other as two major democracies of the world. And being pluralistic, culturally strong societies, they want to make their presence felt on the world. So in this case, but China pursues it from the lens of its own containment by United States of America. So the South China Sea, when a common strand is expressed between US and India, China has expressed India to retain its strategic autonomy. And on the other hand, across the world, if you see, the China-Russia relationship is strongly growing and this axis is developing. The Russia is also developing its sphere of influence, and recently Russia-ASEAN summit was held. And China, with regard to its regional issues, it is engaging with the respective countries. With regard to South China Sea, the Philippines is ready to engage with China. And all these countries, they started, or one or the other way, seeing United States as an outsider. So in this scenario, India moving close to United States, is that going to be a good move? And the second thing is, US is the country which practices the real politic than any other country. Now if you see in the West Asia, what happened? So in the realignment patterns, the Saudi Arabia and Israel were ignored, and it has went ahead with the Iran nuclear deal irrespective of their objections. So to what extent we can rely the United States in the long run? So these are the various questions. So it means we also need to apply the caution in moving forward with the United States of America. And coming to gap between the rich and poor states, we all know that India has a lot of diversity. But economic diversity is also becoming a new factor in India. Across the world, if you observe, initially though, the differences, economic differences between the union and the various states in the country might be high. As the countries progress towards, this gap gets reduced. If you take United States, the richest and the poorest state, the difference in GDPs, per capita income, it is around 2 times. But in India, the same is at 4 times. So after the liberalization, this is increasing. It means that before that, almost at the time of independence, all the states have close economic scenario. Now the difference between the richest state in India and the poorest state, it is 4 times. So in these circumstances, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, she has said, the economic freedom is the ultimate freedom. So what we can say over here is the fiscal devolution to the states is necessary, and the union shall not see it as a dissociating voice or else a dissidence, but it has to see it as a strengthening of the maturing of the Indian democracy. So what the authors argue is more the financial freedom is being provided for the states that leads to the better development of the states. Now, from next article is Mr. J. Chalameshwar, Justice Chalameshwar's organized dissent against the collegium system, or he said he will not be a part of the collegium system until some transparency has been brought in. So here I liked one beautiful word for history, that is, history shows that principled dissent often leads to a reform. So this is a principled dissent from Mr. Justice Chalameshwar. When the collegium judgment is the only judge who has opposed for the judgment against to the National Judicial Appointments Commission. So what he says is, the transparency, it is in the public interest of everyone, and executive shall have certain role in the appointment of the judges. The independence of the judiciary cannot be seen from a very narrow perspective of the appointment of the officers of the judiciary. That's what his argument is. Now coming to Safai Karmacharis. Now the parliament has enacted a law. So it is about prohibition of employment of manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act 2013. So simply Prohibition of Manual Scavenging Act 2013. So according to this, all the people who are involved with manual scavenging have to be rehabilitated. But if you observe, most of these manual scavengers, they are working on contract basis through an intermediary in railways and defense. So the reform has to start from home, that is from the government. That is the article central point is. Now Mother. So Mother Teresa, she was given a sainthood in Vatican City. So we all know the Mother Teresa and her history. And in this case, the Pope has clearly said that Teresa, as witness of God's closeness to the poorest of the poor. Remember these words for your essay. And the next is, she may be a saint today, but she is a mother every day. So that's what is the another statement which we can remember for our essay. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much.